All right. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Go.
Welcome back to another episode of your favorite show, Docktails with Cocktails, with Tim and May Hindmarsh. Cheers to the weekend. And look at our new little set. Tim has to wear pants now because you can see him.
Yeah. Well, I have shorts. I'm wearing shorts.
Yes.
I'm not wearing long sleeve shorts or pants, as some other people call them. I don't like them. They make my legs feel weird.
We can't have that.
No, they can't. I don't. It's weird. I've been completely floratized.
Well, it's the Easter weekend coming up. However, we're a little slow as usual, and we thought it would be fun to share some of the best April Fool's pranks ever recorded or
Since it was
tried
just
since
April
it was
Fools.
just April Fool's. It seems, is Easter like extra
Extra
early
Yeah.
this
So
year?
when
It's
people
kinda
watch
nuts.
this, it will be in the rearview
Right.
mirror. I hope you had a good Easter.
Now, I wanted to put out our past episode. It's episode number 13, and I hope you all scroll way, way, way back on iTunes or wherever you're listening to podcasts, because
we will discuss it
because
in more detail.
episode 13 was released
20
April 1st, 2021, and it had people believing the story
Bamboozled.
for a year or longer. I was meeting people, and they
Yes.
were still asking about when we were going to depart for the moon.
For the moon. Yes. We had convinced people with an April Fool's prank, which was our podcast. People, like, these are people that have known us for decades. And they were convinced that we were chosen to go to the moon because they wanted physicians and they wanted, athletes, and they wanted a married couple. And it just got more and more ridiculous intentionally throughout the episode so that people would eventually catch on. And up to a year later, they'd come up, are you guys going to the moon yet? And literally one part of the show, you have to go back and listen to it, was they had a part of the space capsule called the personal intimacy capsule or prick capsule. And people still are like, yes, well, no, personal reproductive and
Yes.
intimacy capsule.
Yes, that's
the
right.
prick capsule. And people were still
Yeah, well-
convinced that we were going to be studying middle-aged sex in space.
I know, it was super funny. So what makes a good April Fool's prank, which we're going to get into some good ones here, is when there's elements of truth in it that are woven into the unlikely. And so that's why it was so good, because a lot of our closest friends were listening and
They'd known we were going to Florida.
They had known we'd gone down to Texas and we're tied up. Our son was in the military, and then we were in Florida, and there was some work stuff, and a lot of the things we were talking about all tied in. And so they knew, it made for a great setup. And so that's all I'm going to really say about that. I have to laugh because, of course, there was the big moon.
The big
launch
launch of Artemis.
Again on April 1st this year, so maybe
Like April, like seriously. Like if you want to make people convinced
Suspicious?
that it's all fake, launch the rocket on April 1st.
Of course.
Right?
I
which
know.
is
I
interesting.
was thinking, I'm like, is this for real or what?
So
I did look outside to try to see it because
you could see it from actually almost like anywhere in South Florida you could see it.
Yeah, we couldn't hear. It was too cloudy right in my exact location. I was looking.
But like if you're up on a building in Tampa,
Yeah,
you could see it really well.
Anyway, so that was super fun, and I would love to be able to replicate some form of that in the future.
Yes.
So stay tuned every April 1st when we release episodes, guys, because we might be just doing something crazy. All right, so Tim's got we found some gooders, and
Some real gooders.
I can't wait.
And for yes, because there was less trial attorneys in the 70s. A lot of this seems to center around the 70s. All right, let's start with this first picture. This is a picture of Mount Edgecumbe, which is a dormant volcano on the island, southern end of Kruzof Island in Alaska. So in 1970, April 1st, 1974, this guy named Oliver Porky
What?
Porky Bicker. That was his name.
Porky was his nickname?
Yep, Porky Bicker. So Porky Bicker got 70 tires and hoarded them for 3 years until it was a perfectly clear day for April 1st.
How do you
And
even
then
store 70 tires?
I don't know. It's Alaska. It's probably on his front yard. So anyways, so Porky Bicker gets a friend or like somebody with a helicopter, and they drop these off on the edge of the crater of this Edgecumbe mountain. He lights them on fire and then writes in gigantic, like 50-foot tall letters, Happy April Fool's Day in the snow. Because what it looked like was the volcano was going to start to erupt. So this guy waited 3 years, 70 tires, hired a helicopter, and actually wrote it in the snow, which is amazing commitment. But that one gets the ingenuity prize, I think, because
And the patience.
like if that blew up,
patience.
yeah, and I mean if that blew up, like if you look at what St. Helens did in 1980, like Sitka, Alaska is just completely and utterly
I
destroyed.
wonder if they had to evacuate the town or what.
No, they
happened.
didn't. The Coast Guard went and flew over it. And then they saw this gigantic, like, FU in the snow and a bunch of smudgy tires.
So how does one, like, I wanted to know how long would it take to drop 70 tires? Because you know that helicopter is not carrying all 70 tires, not at once. Like, I'm thinking balance, weight, and load from the days when my dad's like
Well,
a
how
pilot.
would you not, like, I mean, that's...
You're not fitting 70 in one.
Yeah, and that was 1974. So you could fly a helicopter. I mean, helicopters flew around Alaska all the time. They still do.
Yeah, but
you know, people weren't right. But people weren't going, "Oh, that seems odd," and then taking video and then going on social media and then whatever, right?
Like, why should a helicopter keep flying over the mountain?
Yeah. So that one is, yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
you know, where
maybe it was,
you couldn't get away with it now.
Right.
You know, so now you just get irritated because you go on social media and they're like, "Oh, look, it's the brand new 2028 Chevy El Camino," and they have some AI rendering, and I'm like, that's really cool. I would buy that. And of course, it's fake. And I'm like, you a-holes. That's what we have to deal with now. It's just all the, you know, President Trump has died. April Fools. No, that's like, you're retarded, all right? Like, that's just dumb. You know, and that's what you end up with now. It's just, you know,
right,
I'd rather just have the AI. I love the cats playing banjos. Like, let's be honest, who doesn't love that? That's why God made AI, so we can have cats riding unicycles playing banjos.
I like the good old-fashioned pranks. I mean, don't put saran wrap on my toilet, though.
Okay.
That's where I draw the line.
So Porky Bicar wins the prank for the most commitment, because I think that's like up on the side of a mountain, that took a lot of commitment.
Well, on money.
And it worked. And then to like 50-foot. You know,
unless you had a friend that had a helicopter.
Yeah, well, he might have. I mean, who knows, right?
And I want to know how he painted that what he did in the snow.
I think he just stomped her out.
No way.
Yep. We waited 3 years. Waited 3 years.
Goals, right?
Life goals, yeah.
Life goals. Wow.
So, but hey, it's 1974.
What else you got to do in Alaska?
That was 52 years ago. And we are still uttering Dear Porky's name. So, I mean, hey, that's good.
That's going down in the history books.
Good.
That's a good one.
Okay, so there's another one a little closer to home in Clearwater, Florida. And this started in 1948. Okay, and these guys win the Longevity Award. So what happened was, and again, the best pranks are based on something that is actually true and people want to believe. So there was reports that in the Gulf, there was these big things floating around, and people thought, well, these look like giant penguins that have been extinct. And so in people's minds was this idea of, well, maybe these giant extinct penguins somehow made it into the Gulf and got to South Florida.
Right.
So this one guy and his friend decided that they would make these gigantic, like enormous penguin feet. I think we have a picture of it. And so they're like, look at how big that thing is, right?
Wow.
And they rode.
Oh, they're made out of lead, right?
Yeah, they rode like rowing a boat.
They rowed a boat
onto the shore, walked out of the water in these things, stomped around a little bit, went back into the water. Okay, that's great. Aha, it's funny. People are like, oh, maybe the giant penguin's real, on and on. They did this sporadically, off and on, in the middle of the night for 10 years. For 10 years. And then they finally got a cryptozoologist guy was like, you know, this is the giant penguin. This is the giant penguin. And then they finally got this other expert that came later and he goes, no, this is absolutely 100% guaranteed fake. So they did this from 1948 to 1958.
And they
But
had to hire like the actual biologist, whoever
oh
specialist
yeah,
to
they hired.
investigate
Oh,
it.
absolutely. And one of them was so convinced it was an extinct animal that he found.
And I can't believe that nobody would have seen them. That's so cool.
There was 1,500 people that lived in, or 15,000 people lived in Clearwater in 1948.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like trying to get over the Skyway now, right?
That's so funny.
Yeah, so then, but it never came completely clear on like who did it and like the confession of, yep, this was us, we did it until 1988.
Imagine keeping a secret that
40
long.
years. These guys kept the secret of their prank for 40 years. One guy was, I think, like basically on his deathbed, and he said, like, I did it. And then the other guy came out and says, like, we did it too. And that was the picture of the last surviving person of this prank holding up the gigantic foot.
Wow. It's just like the Area 51.
Except that's probably real.
Tim thinks it's real. Prove us
I'm
wrong.
not saying that there's aliens there. I'm not saying that it's Hangar 18 like, you know, what Megadeth says. But you never know. Well, there's a congressman that just came out today, and he said, I'm not suicidal. And if everyone actually knows, honest to God, what's going on in the UFO files, it's way weirder than you can even imagine. You'll freak out. Which I think it means it's our tech. That's what I think. I don't think it means it's alien tech. I think it means it's our tech. Because people be pissed. Why didn't you use this for the better? See, what would, if you, to go down that rabbit hole, if
I love it.
the UFO thing.
The squirrel's on the loose.
The squirrel's on the loose. The UFO thing, what would be worse from a public perception, public being angry thing? The government knew that there was aliens, but they kept it secret because they knew the aliens weren't necessarily dangerous and they didn't want to deal with the outcry. Or it's our technology that we developed through secret knowledge and we never released it for the betterment of mankind. We kept it because we wanted to use it as secret weapons.
Sounds like an Ayn Rand novel.
Yeah. No, but like seriously, like what would piss people off more?
Oh,
right?
yeah. No, absolutely.
Right? Like if it's our, like
Yes.
the anger, you guys are
course.
awful is going to be if it's our technology that we never shared.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
So
if we don't share that there's like aliens out there that might hurt us, like who
Like,
cares?
who cares?
Right. No,
Right?
I think
because you can make an argument.
I think you're totally right. I think
You
it's
can
all
make an
man-made.
argument that if there was aliens and we knew, we kept it secret so that people didn't freak out and it didn't cause world destabilization. But if it's technology that we either retrofitted from some ancient civilization or whatever, and we owned and we kept that secret, well, that's now like that's a completely different thing. Okay, so you're telling us that you could take a marble the size of an aspirin tablet, put it in your car, and drive it for 300 million miles and never gas up? Thanks, a-holes, for not telling us about that. Like, what's going to piss you off more?
know,
Oh, no, you
exactly.
did that to protect the entire oil and gas industry.
Exactly.
Right? Like that.
Yes.
Like that's I think that's a way bigger fear, and it's way more likely.
Yeah.
It's way more likely than aliens that can travel multiples of the speed of light.
And nobody else has their dead bodies in
Right.
their backyard or
Drove-
freezer except for them,
Right.
the government.
Drove to the Earth
Yeah.
with their technology that's so wildly superior that like no human being could survive inside the spaceship with how fast it turns. And they traveled 100 million light years, and then they just decided there's Earth, and they had a party and they got really drunk and crashed into the Earth because somehow their unbelievably great alien technology can't figure out how to land.
But you got to watch the SNL episode. It's reminding me of that Kate McKinnon.
Oh, Kate McKinnon with the
Getting abducted by
Oh, that
aliens.
is the best.
We're going way off, but oh my gosh.
No,
that
but,
is super funny.
but seriously, right?
She would say that, yeah.
Like, think of that. It's like, well, okay, we're almost at the Earth. Let's let the 16-year-old drunk alien drive this spaceship.
But only crash it in government land. So
Yeah,
that
it
they
only
can-
crashes next to the, and it doesn't crash into Manhattan.
It didn't crash.
It crashes into BFE, New Mexico, in
Right.
the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
That happens to be really close to a nuclear test site where we tested nuclear weapons 5 years before. Yeah.
Yeah, not in Hannah, Saskatchewan. Or
Yeah.
Alberta.
Yeah, or in the middle of, or like,
Whatever.
oh, look at all those lights. I wonder if that's where the people are. Maybe we should land there. No, let's land at the other place where let's land at the
I
Trinity
know.
site. You know, but that's one of the theories. One of the theories is the reason the aliens came was because of the atomic bombs and that they could detect the electromagnetic pulses from the atomic bombs. So they came to the Earth to try to save us from killing ourselves.
Oh, isn't that?
That's one of the theories. So that's why it was. That's why it's
Who comes
in
up with this stuff?
That's why it's in New Mexico. That's why there was no real alien sightings to speak of until after the atomic bombs were developed. Oh yeah, that's the whole thing.
They're saving us from ourselves. Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's just like, it is like, that's the one that just gets me. Like they crash into, well then the other one is that they're not crashes. Okay. They're not crashes. They're donations. Donations, right? And like Joe Rogan's kind of big into this. So if the aliens came and they wanted to seed technology that we could then use and reverse engineer, they would just crash their ships and then bugger off.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the crashed ships in Roswell aren't actually crashed because they were, drunk and it was a Friday night. It was because
this is like the Hunger Games where they drop down the little
they were
token
donations of technology.
You all watch the Hunger Games and the little thing comes down and drops off the package.
Then why is there an alien body in there? Like,
maybe this is
was that like an alien prisoner? It's like this guy was the jerk, so we put the alien prisoner in there and donated him.
Maybe the whole world is like the Hunger Games and it's being controlled by the aliens outside us.
No, it's being controlled by Donald J. Trump.
It is right now. Yes, amen to that.
That's right.
Please control my gas pump prices. Please drop those prices.
I'm a little irregular, and then it's the thing. Like it is pretty crazy. Like with this war, like when Trump says one thing, and then the market moves $1 trillion, right? It's like, well, I had a big turd this morning, and Trump's Colin's feeling much better. Market's up like 3%. Yeah. Just on Trump's turds. That's right. They're good turds. Greatest turds ever. So, anyways, the greatest of all of the greatest pranks for April Fool's Day, in my personal humble opinion, is metric time. This is a tidbit from Tim's childhood. This is from my childhood. And if you grew up in Saskatoon in the 70s, you will know this story. April 1st, look it up. Look it up. It's a very famous story. April 1st, 1975. I was 9 years old, not almost 10. And there was a morning radio show that was incredibly popular because people actually listened to local radio back then when they're driving to work. So the Wall and Den show. So what was his name? Denny Carr and Wally Stanbuck. Those are the two guys, right? Mm-hmm, and they're since deceased, great guys. And just as an aside, when I was in high school, we'd bump into different people, and Denny Carr's daughter was a smoke show in high school. Let me just say. And that's really important to this piece. I don't know, but you never know. She might be listening and go, "Oh well, that's fine." But anyways, maybe she'll write in. So these guys were they were unbelievably good broadcasters. Started in I think the late 40s or 50s or whatever. So in 1974. Again, what's the nugget of truth that makes the story believable? The nugget of truth is Canada was switching over from imperial measurement to the metric system and started in 1973 or 4, and it was a kind of a rollout that took 5 or 6 years. It was hugely expensive, very disruptive. Every single sign had to be changed, every speed sign, every, how many miles to Smuts, Saskatchewan, like everything had to be. Yeah, we were reminiscing about that last night, talking to our daughter. Nobody knew what temperature it was. It's like, what's 20 degrees? Well, 20 degrees is room temperature. And it's like, anyway, so it's just crazy, right? So these guys said, well, what if we pull a prank and say that we're not just changing temperature and measurements to metric, we're changing time. So Celsius was this Swiss scientist who came up with the, 0 Celsius is freezing point of water, 100 is the boiling point, and then the decimals in between, which really, honestly, is far more rational. Like, what the hell's Fahrenheit, right? Like, what's 0 Fahrenheit mean to anybody? Oh, I know. Right? And so, and actually, Fahrenheit is actually based on, I think, the freezing point of salt water. Oh, or water with a certain amount of salt in it. Yeah, don't quote me, but that's makes sense. So what they did is they said, well, there's a Swiss, so everything in metric, is based in 10. It's the decimal system. Right. That's it. So centigrade is the other name for Celsius because there's 100. So, anyways, they said, well, we're going to have time, but it's going to be 10 hours in a day and 100 seconds in an hour, and They did 6 hours of this thing the whole day. Like people were calling in and they were taking all these calls. I remember sitting at home. I think I was sick or whatever that day, and I was listening. And they're calling in. They're like, "Well, what am I going to do with my clock?" And I'm like, "Well, you're going to have to get a metric clock that has 10 hours on it. It's not going to be 12 hours. It's going to be 10 hours, and it's 100 seconds in an hour. And like, you're going to have to change this. I know it's going to be disruptive, but if we're going to be metric, we're going to be metric time and metric temperature and the whole deal." And
they had a special name for the time, right?
Lyman collar time. So they made up a Dutch physicist, and they just, it's like, Lyman collar time. It's coming. It's going to be like people were so convinced. They were taking their watches into jewelry stores and trying to exchange them.
On April 1st.
On April 1st for Lyman collar watches that had 10 hours. It got so bad that one of the representatives, like a member of parliament, in other words, this is the equivalent of a congressman in the United States, stood up in parliament and looked at Pierre Trudeau, Justin's alleged father, and pointed at him and said, "Mr. Trudeau, you've gone too far. We're not doing metric time." And then Trudeau's like, "What the hell are you talking about? Like, that's ridiculous. There's no metric time."
I love this story.
Oh, it is so good. Like, you got to look at it. You can, it's so, those guys were so good. And they were so funny. And I remember my mother was pretty savvy, and we're listening, and she's like, "It's April 1st. Come on." We were all kind of convinced for a few minutes, but then it's like, yeah, this is
no way.
But the best were the callers, like the people calling in, and they're taking, like, they're not cracking us a laugh, like nothing. Like, they're taking these calls. "Oh yeah, absolutely. You better check with the government of Canada and the government is."
I wonder how many callers they had set up. I mean, like, it was a setup where they had people call in, so it kind of.
I don't know if they did that.
Egg it on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sounds like they didn't need to do that. I mean, it sounds like everybody that was calling in really bought it hook, line, and sinker, like our little prank for a while. Yeah. That's brilliant. I love that one, and it's a classic.
It's a classic. 1975.
It goes so perfectly with the metric system, because
and everyone was already pissed off about the metric system, right? So it's like, how could you make it more disruptive?
Right.
Time.
I can't even
like
imagine.
Your $400,000 Rolex watch collection is now junk.
You're like, how do I go to work? Like, what are the hours of my shift work?
Am I going to work
12-hour shifts?
Am I going to work
10 hours shifts?
3 hours a day?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
when is the news going to come on?
Yeah.
Oh, if there's only 10 hours.
Yeah, but there was 100 seconds in an hour.
That is just so bizarre.
It was so brilliant.
I love it. That is like spectacular. Lyman collar.
Lyman collar time. Yeah.
Wow.
Larman collar. Larmen. Larman collar. Like, just the stupidest name too, right? Like, okay.
Wow.
The last story May does not know about, but she must look at this picture, because the devil is in the details.
Oh, I'm going to have to really zoom into the camera then, in order to.
Okay, so you have to see this, and I might show it to you on my phone as well.
Okay.
So
if you have it on your phone,
this is proof that God has a sense of humor.
Okay.
And let me check this out.
It's too small for me to see on the monitor, so you're going to have to give it.
So here you go, May. This is called, I'll read this from The Guardian. Chilly Willy. Photo of Phallic iceberg off Canadian coast prompts merriment. So look at that thing. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, it even has like the twigs and the berries.
Yes.
And it's got like a little corona, like it has been.
It's a beautiful circumcision
ceremonially circumcised.
It's a beautiful circumcision job, although it does have like a sharp little dagger on the underbelly.
Yeah, well,
that,
Okay, but this
a little scary.
But there's a part of this.
So who carved that thing, and what the heck?
It didn't carve it. It's an iceberg. It is naturally made by the hand of God. A massive floating schlongsicle. But it gets better.
No way.
It gets better.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. I checked this. I verified it. I even looked at Snopes.
And you looked at
it gets better. It gets better. Please listen to the story.
It's like the clouds in the sky where we imagine stuff.
There's no imagining that. There's no imagining that.
Oh my gosh. Are you sure? No.
It was a calm spring day when Canadian photographer Ken Perry spotted an interestingly shaped 30-foot Iceberg off Newfoundland's east coast. As he flew his drone overhead, Preddy, who hails from the town of Dildo,
What?
realized the hunk of ice had a distinct resemblance to a characteristic part of the male human anatomy. Yes, Ken Preddy photographed the giant ice schlong who hails from the town of Dildo, Newfoundland. You cannot make it up.
Gosh. Okay, I thought Climax, Saskatchewan was like a ridiculous name, but Dildo.
Dildo, Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
Uh-huh.
I'm speechless.
Look it up. It exists.
Speechless.
There is the town of Dildo.
Are you sure the whole thing isn't a big...
Yeah, well, and strangely
prank?
in Dildo, there's no D batteries available.
Those would be triple A's.
Sold out. Sold out.
Triple A's. D's are too big. D's are too big.
Yeah, so...
Too much juice in a D battery.
Yeah. So, anyways...
Wow, that's a good one.
Right. But, okay, so to kind of wrap this up in maybe a slightly serious note, the interesting part about the pranks is it has to have at least a thread of truth, or else it's not going to be an effective prank, and you're not going to, or you're not going to be able to do it for very long, right? Like it's like people immediately figure it out, right? And so the same thing happens, especially in social media with like these psyops that go on, you know, and you don't really know you're being psyop because it's like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, all this debate about what's going on with Charlie Kirk and all that. It's you never see evidence, you only see accusation.
Right.
But there's so much accusation that it has to be true. Well, it doesn't have to be true. It can just be tons of accusation and absolutely no evidence.
Well, and there's always threads of truth in stuff.
There's always threads
that gets built a bunch of BS on top of it.
Well,
yeah.
like, okay, like I mentioned the Charlie Kirk thing, and I'm not going to name names and get, you know, weird, but because I haven't researched it enough and I don't really have an opinion. But the thing that's interesting, and one of the grains of truth in that, I was thinking about this, is when you observe Erica Kirk, she's an easy target because she's kind of this drama girl, pageant woman, comes across sometimes very affected, very over, you know, like when they posted that picture of her holding his dead hand in the coffin, and I'm like, don't you think it's a little much, guys? Like, you know, it's so...
Yeah, but whose fault is that? She didn't post the picture. Someone else did.
No, she did.
Oh, she
Absolutely.
did?
That stuff was from Turning Point. And then it's like, you know, the tears at the funeral and the, you know, all of that.
It's
like
a funeral.
No, but it was like I forgive him. And it's like, okay, does she? I take it at face value. Yes, she does. But at the same time, it comes across, there's something about her that comes across, whether it's just style and not substance, and I'm more than happy to say it's style and not substance, there's something that comes across that tastes not genuine on camera. Like, that's just the way I feel. And when you have that, that's easy to exploit.
True, yeah.
Right? And so...
I get where you're going with
it.
So
I'm not laying any blame on her. I'm
right.
not laying blame necessarily on the people that are questioning or whatever. But I am saying sometimes you can make yourself a target by, you know, your husband dies, you take over the organization, that all makes sense, and then you're like this massive media presence after, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just, you kind of walked into it in a way, the way I look at it. Like, I think some of the things that have been done to her and said about her after her husband dies are absolutely despicable. But at the same time, I'm not willing to go, yeah, but she kind of opened herself up to it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the same with any celebrities or people doing things to get attention and then get upset because they're getting attention and they're like, you know, it's
but you're going to get bad attention.
Right.
Like Tiger Woods had
it's not just
lots of good attention
yes.
till he screwed up, and then he got lots of bad attention.
Correct.
Because, you know...
So there's going to be criticism on both sides.
Right.
It's going to be positive and negative. No, that's...
You know, and it's fascinating because I heard this, I forget who it was talking about this. When Billy Graham started his organization in the late 40s, he met with a bunch of pastors and they started this kind of coalition. And they're like, okay, if we're going to do this and we're going to have a big ministry and we're going to try to go around the world and we're going to do crusades, where are our weak points? Yeah, it was on PBD's podcast. He goes, where are the weak points? Where are we going to lose? And he goes, well, there's lots of pastors that end up cheating on their wife. There's lots of people that become megalomaniacs and narcissists. There's lots of people that get stuck with, I can make a ton of money doing this. And they lose the message. And he said, so we have to look where others failed and decide not to do that. So we have to be absolutely pure in our marriages because that will destroy our ministry. We have to be absolutely financially totally above board and not pay ourselves exorbitant fees, even though we can raise that kind of money. And we have to be absolutely true. This is the gospel. This is it. Done. We're not rabbit holing stuff because it's the flavor of the day.
Right.
And it was amazingly successful for like 60 or 70, even now. I mean, 80 some years or going on 80 years. And so sometimes I wonder with some of these movements, like, does anyone sit down and go, okay, where can we blow everything up? And let's take a deep breath. We're at an inflection point. Let's sit down and say, okay, where have other things like this failed, right? Because like even somebody as Tiger Woods, he'll always be remembered for being one, one of, if not the greatest golfer in the world. But now there'll always be an asterisk. There'll always be that, yeah, but he was addicted to pills and didn't have the brains to not drive. Like that'll always be there. He'll always be tainted.
Humans are fallible and not imperfect, and stuff happens.
But they are. But then there's guys like Billy Graham that actually somehow managed to do that until into their 90s.
You're right.
There's guys. I think James Dobson was the same.
Yeah.
Focus on the family. He managed to do that into his 80s until he died. Like you can do it, but if you for 1 second think that you're above the law or above reproach in yourself, you are screwed. That's what I think it is. I think it's that spiritual humility that like at the end of his crusades, which is just as I am. That's the song every single time. I come as I am. I come broken. And remembering that we're all broken and we're only made whole by the love of the Savior, because let's be honest, it is Easter weekend for us when we're recording this. That's what makes, that's what allows you to not be opened up to this stuff.
True. Well, way to segue into that serious Easter weekend note from the April Fools.
Like literally we are geniuses. We can take a giant ice schlong and weave it into scripture. like imagine that. That is mad skills.
Imagine that.
All right, sister. As always, like, comment, and keep it BS free.
Cheers and happy Easter weekend.